Hello traders, it's Samurai Trader here. Welcome to this training session, how to day trade any market. What I cover in these sessions you can apply to futures, forex and stocks, and this is session 116. In today's session I'm going to be covering 5 trades I took for 4 winners, and one of the losses was an absolute blunder, and I'm still 24 hours later still cross with myself in taking it. But let me diving deep when we get to the charts and explain the rookie error that I made. And anyway, we'll leave that, but we'll get to it. Okay, so obviously you can tell I'm still frustrated. So if $1,000 a day isn't enough for you, particularly for the young guns that are looking at mastering the art of day trading, you simply increase the number of contracts that you actually trade. Now I do need to bring up the disclaimer: there is a risk in trading. Don't trade with money that you can't afford to lose. The great thing about trading platforms today, you can trade on the simulator until you're consistently profitable. But this is where traders are getting it wrong. The majority of would-be traders, they go and I still come across it every week, traders that want to pick up and master the art of scalping or day trading within a few days, within a week or so. Traders, I've been trading now for 28 years and I still learn something new every day. Now the great thing is, day trading is not rocket science. Scalping and day trading is not rocket science. It's about consistency. However, there are lots of little moving parts, and if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. Now, as I probably mentioned, it's not rocket science, but you've got to learn the basics, the foundation, okay, and that takes time. And look, in the end, yes, I'll give you a little promotion on my course, but you know what, I'm not going to give you a hard flog and not going to tell you it's easy, because it's not. Everybody would be doing it. However, it's also not hard. It's about learning the patterns, and we're going to talk about that as we get into this. And we're going to go to the charts and I'll show you those 5 trades that I took. Okay, and I've got hundreds of videos now on YouTube, but I just think that, you know, so many people just can't handle the truth. They really can't. So let me be direct with you and get you on the right path from day one, because if you blow your account over a period of time, a number of times, it becomes so much harder to master the art of day trading. So very quick advertisement: if you haven't already, this is really appropriate, the truth about day trading, please click on the description link below and you can download that. Even better still, make sure you subscribe to my channel to be kept up to date with all of my latest YouTube videos. Better still, become a member for $197. Everything I'm about to show you, including there's about 200 hours of online video instruction, there's 38 PowerPoints, and this is where, by the way, someone wrote to me last week and said, you know, I want to get to, you know, I want to learn this. I don't want to have to watch 200 hours. You don't have to watch 200 hours. I teach you, I think, is about 18 different strategies. There's only a couple that you need to focus on. I teach you what those are, and you'll see what those are in a minute anyway. So traders, you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours. However, you do have to become a student of the market. Okay, you've got to become a student of the market. Once again, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So $197, you get everything you're about to see, including all of my indicators. If I don't have indicators for your trading platform, I give you the settings that you can set up on just about any platform. Also, you can attend, included in the $197, a bonus of 8 2-hour live and recorded training sessions. So every Tuesday and Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I run 2-hour online classes where after the first month, if you choose to sign up, so you're not committing to this, it's $97 a month to then attend, and my program includes all of my upgrades, etc. Okay, make no mistake, this is the last program you'll ever have to invest in, traders. But that's it. Let's now move on. So I want to mention, first of all, and I think I already said it, the consistency. Richard Dennis very famous from the Turtles fame. He was actually also written up in the first book, Market Wizards. Had to think of it then, forgot that. And it just made me think of a trade that I'll show you that I took last night. Was just what was I thinking? The point was, I wasn't thinking when I took the trade. And where I'm a little different as a educator, but also as a trader, where I have hundreds of members. I also run a live trading room, by the way, 3 mornings or 3 nights a week. Is if I make a stuff or stuff up a trade, I'll tell them about it because it's how they learn. But then we want to look at that. What can we learn from that? But you don't have to be perfect when it comes to trading. Now, here's a great quote here by William, and William said here, most important thing in life is not to capitalize on your gains. Any fool can do that. The really important thing is to profit from your losses. So what can you learn from both your winning trades and losing trades? What will you do differently next time? If anything, I like to look at this as a thinking man's game. That is, if I have a winning trade, what's great about that? What can I learn from that? Likewise, if I have a losing trade, what will I do differently next time? And this is one of the major errors that traders make. They're not willing to do the things that winning traders do. Now, I was actually looking for a slide I'm about to show you now, and this is something that I brought up in one of my coaching sessions, and this is a slide from way back in 2021. So we're in November 2024, so over 3 years ago. Here, what can I learn and improve on? Talking live trading, think before executing. Does the trade meet my trading rules? Selling into a pivot, which is where I'll show you the stuff up I made. And I'm still angry about it, but it's a great reminder, and to go back and just to keep, one day I'll get it right. Reminds me of Coach Wooden. It took him 16 years to win his first major basketball game, and then he won a heap in a row. And he was once asked, Coach, why did it take you so long to win your first game? He said, I'm a slow learner, but when I get it down well, I've got it for life, or something along those terms. So the key point with this slide here, traders, is we've got to apply what we call black box thinking. And this is where a lot of traders will say, I'm bored, your videos are boring, you're not at the charts, so I just want to learn about the setups. Traders, trading is 90% head stuff. It truly is. The setups are the easy part. It really is. It's about the psychology of trading, discipline, patience, money management, and then last of all, the setups, because they're pretty mechanical. But what can we learn from the mistakes or the errors that we make? So I'm going to actually show you what I did wrong, and I'll teach you what not to do when we get to it. And I want to try to keep this at 30 minutes if I can. Now, the next thing here you'll hear me talk about is beginning with the end in mind. That is having a set goal. Now, I have a goal of 1,000 plus per day. I'm actually and members watching this, I know I'm talking about 2,000 a day. I've got to increase the time I put in front of the screen, but I do a lot of things. So I do my live trading, I've got my live trading room, the coaching session, and my one-on-ones, and I've got an inner circle group of traders that I work with. So putting that aside, the world is your oyster when it comes to trading if you're willing to lay the foundation, and one of those is having a goal in mind, because it gives you clarity. Now, what would an extra $1,000 a day mean to you and your family? $5,000 a week. Now, how do you achieve that? It's a life changer. It really is, and would be for the majority of people. So you've got to take the right steps to get there. Now, how do we get there? And I'm about to show you a slide that I think it's down. Yes, it is, that one of my members sent me, and just about the movie Moneyball. But here, trade 10 contracts by $100 a day, and there's your 1,000, or 5 by 200 a day. I'm going to be showing you how to do that. But on this slide here, Now this was sent to me by one of my members. Gee whiz, that's 5 years ago now on this. And so when Sam sent this through, it was just talking about, it's, if you haven't watched the movie Moneyball, it's really, well, it's a great movie, and it's about really statistics. And so rather than having this unrealistic target of $500 to $1,000 a day per contract, can you do that? Yes, an outstanding trader can, but it's not within the reality of most traders. Okay, so netting just $50 per day, really, you can have untold wealth. Now you can pause this and read this. Unfortunately, a lot of traders will shrug their shoulders, but I know there's also a lot of thinkers watching this video. So read what he has to say, because I'm about to show you some things here. And for those who watch my videos, you know I go through basically the same thing, just laying the foundation each and every day. But I haven't shown this one for a long time. But trading 10 contracts, you're on 240 250,000 a year. Now even if you've got the money, start on the micro. So this is where I just showed some members here, just starting with one micro, and this is on the NQ, and we're going to be looking at a couple of trades on the 6-tick Renko. So on the 6-tick Renko, and to trade that correctly, you need to have around $6,000 or 600 if you're going to trade the micro. Why? It's about money management. We never ever risk more than 2%, but here it means that we needed to be netting $30 a day, and I'll show you the bottom line and what that means in a moment. And here we're romping in our target within an hour or two each and every day, just about. Now so start small, miss small. And just to show you this here, so by the way, you can download, if you click on the link below, you can actually get hold of this template. Now how this template works is that you start trading an additional contract. You'll see how it works over here in a moment, and there's a training video comes with this when you download it, that you only start trading an additional contract each time you double your money. So over here, let's go and take it this way. So if you're going to trade the 6-tick, which I'm going to show you some trades on there in a moment, and you need a $6,000 account. Okay, and in fact, let's do this. Let's start off with 10% of the value. So let me take a backward step. Let's start you on a micro, even if you've got $6,000, or if you don't have 6,000, you start with 600, and we want to go for $30 a day, just $30 a day. What this actually means then, within 12 weeks, you now have 6,900 in your account based upon earning $30 a week, and you can see you're increasing the number of contracts you're trading, and down here you're earning basically, potentially, legally, I've got to say that, around $1,500 a week. Then you can roll over and start trading the big contract. Okay, now this gets back to beginning with the end in mind, setting some realistic targets. Now unlike some ridiculous compounding sheets I see on the internet, here you're only increasing as you double your money, so you're using the market's money. Now even if you got 6,000, you might start on the micro, which I recommend, and after 5, 6, 7 weeks, then you jump up to the big contract. But here you're on the $6,000 contract. You got 6,000, sorry, you're allowing for a 6-tick Renko, and I won't get into all the reason in the money management. The higher the time frame you trade, the larger the stop, the larger the account size you need. But here you can see there, within 11 weeks you have a potential of being earning basically around the $12,000 a week within 11 weeks. This is the true potential. Now I just want to show you this here also, because we're also going to be looking at the RTY, the Russell. Now on the Russell, you can actually trade the micro with the Russell as well. So the Russell is $5 per tick, and so is the NQ, by the way. It's $5 a tick. The micro contract, 10% of the value, is 50 cents a tick on both. So so you can trade the micro, so you really only need around $350 to $400. But look where you are earning 200, and you're about to see how you can do that potentially potentially within a couple of months. Okay, you're up there, you're trading your 10 contracts, you're on your 12,000 a week. This is the potential if you're willing to put the work in to master the patterns, and everything I do is pattern driven. But getting back to this now, let's actually jump ahead a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to be showing you a number of different trades that I take, and I trade both counter trend trades, change in market direction, and with trend trades. So you've got to really look at this like you're trading in a direction of the higher time frame. So you'll hear me reference the AC1, the anchor chart 1, regularly, and the little pullbacks on your entry chart. This is what you want to be doing. You're looking for the retracements and pullbacks, and we're trading in the direction of the higher time frame. And I've got put together really a complete strategy on the time frames that are right for you to be trading various times of day. And so which is the right time frame to trade? Whichever of those time frames is tradable. That's another topic for another time. Now what I'm about to show you also, as we quickly look at the slides before we get to the charts, is that you can apply what I teach to any type of chart. I love tick charts and Renko. Okay, they work beautifully hand in hand. Renko though is fantastic for traders that have found trading difficult up till now, or want to smooth out price action. But you can trade HAR, which is a combination of Renko and Heikin Ashi. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so first of all, on the trades I took last night, I had 2 out of 2 in trading. This one was on that was on RTY 3 tick, which we'll look at in a moment, and also fired off a trade on the 6J. Now a lot of people ask, why do you trade the 6J, the yen? Well, where I am down under in Australia, and if we just look at the yen right now, we can see there, look at the market depth you have. So if you're trading the Globex session, the after hours market, you got what we call fantastic market depth. Now likewise, if we go over to the Russell, okay, you've got nowhere near the market depth. Now you can still trade 10 contracts, no problems, but you just don't have the volume. Now if you go to the ES, that's a little different again. You can see here on the ES you still got fantastic volume. Why? Because the market's open 23 hours a day, so you can trade this, and once again with the ES, great market to trade. You've also got the micro. So the ES is $12.50 a tick, $50 a point, or $1.25 a tick on the micro. So what I do look at is the volume of contracts. Now I don't trade massive amounts. I'm typically trading between 5 and 10 lots. Okay, so between, and I might add an extra 5 to 10 to a position if I'm pretty much already in the green. I might add to a position, but overall 5 to 10 is the maximum, because that suits me as far as the stress level goes. And by the way, the young guns, they're happy perhaps to target 100 contracts a day. I'm 65. Some of us older dogs perhaps like to be more conservative, and by the way, there are old traders, there are bold traders, but there are no old bold traders, meaning you've got to follow your rules and the money management. Now just to quickly explain this, so here I had 2 out of 2. The difference there is the commissions. Now I then started the live trading room. Now in the live room I only trade 1 contract, by the way. Why? Because I'm talking and trading. One of the big no-nos, and one of the reasons I stuffed up last night. It's not meant to be an excuse, it's just a fact. Okay, and so in the room I had 3 trades, 2 wins, 1 loss, and so that's after commissions, that's all combined how I ended up. Now I'm going to show you the losing trade because it's a learning experience, and you know what, I think it helps me too. So just there, this was on the 6J. here had a really, and I will talk about this expand your charts in a moment. For members watching, this was a beautiful T10. And by the way, you can see these multiple trading opportunities. Now I believe in POQ, power of quitting. I have a target, I hit the target, that's it. If it's over in 10 minutes, it's over in 10 minutes. It might take an hour, hour and a half maximum, but I believe in POQ. For the young guns here, you'll probably be happy to keep trading. Now here I then had this one was on the this one was on, what was it, the other one was on the Russell, doesn't matter which one it was. Here, no, this is the NQ, sorry, my apology, this is the NQ as well. Nice little winning trade. And then I had this silly trade which we'll look at directly on the charts. What was I thinking? I wasn't. Seriously, I'm still cross about it. Okay, I then recovered straight away. I had a beautiful T12 up here. And by the way, just to you probably, or you may not have heard of Larry Pesavento. He's really famous as far as geometric patterns in the market, various levels, etc. For an example, 70.7, which he loves, and that's from the low to the high. That's an exact turning point of 70.7. So let's go to the charts and just discuss for 10 minutes a couple of the setups. But before we do, here's what we need to drill down on and to be focused on. That is, where are these levels? Because all of these levels become what we call price magnets. They attract price, and one of the reasons is the psychology. That is, so many traders know that these levels become support resistance levels, and so many traders trade into them, but then they become bounce points, and so we can sell into them and also use them, particularly when you've got divergence. For an example, I just have to show you this one right here, okay, because it's just a perfect example here on another screen here of the RTY on the 3 ticks. So I'll just bring this across here. Now the chart time frame, by the way, down, this is in the evening, okay, so 23:23, so getting towards midnight. That there to there and that there to there. So this is what I call my entry chart, and this is our anchor chart. For those that trade divergence, you can't get anything more beautiful than this setup. Higher high on price, high on the entry, higher high on the anchor chart 1, lower high on, and this is a MACD platinum, it's a 0 lag, same thing on the anchor chart 1, and it's a pivot bounce. It's a Camarilla pivot bounce. So what I've got there, some beautiful trades on the way up. Then it just not so long ago we had this one fire off. Actually it's a bit longer than not so long ago now, but a beautiful, this is just a textbook setup, and this is live, and we see these every single day. You see, traders, trading truly is a pattern solving exercise. It's a matter of learning these patterns, and we have these patterns off these major support resistance levels. So let's go and have a look at some of these potential trades we had. Excuse me 1 minute. Okay, so what we're looking at here, these are just potential entries that if we were trading actively at the time, we would have been in or should have been in. Okay, so on the way down here, these are all pivot bounces. You've got great divergence. Okay, so following the cloud, if you like, we then have a nice reversal. I won't get into how we pinpoint these reversals, but then I had a bounce off yesterday's close, which acts, yesterday's open, high, low, close, all of those areas act like pivots. And so I took this one. In fact, I from my entry, I'm usually after 10 ticks. This is the yen, so I'm normally after 10 ticks profit, and it actually come down. If I remember correctly, I hit 7 ticks, which is normally when I go to break even my entry price, but I thought I'd stay with it, and I bounced, and I was thinking, oh crumbs, have I done the right thing? And then it rolled over and I got filled. Now in some ways I should have taken the profit at the pivot, and I could have re-entered. So for members watching this, this was a T10 on your anchor chart 1. We've got codes for our different setups. Now the point here, as I wanted to mention here, is to make sure that you expand your charts regularly, because you need to see the flow of the ocean, if you like. And if you've got your charts scrunched up like this, you're not getting a true view of what actually is happening overall with the market. For an example, just here we've got a 200 EMA. We want to be trading in the general direction of the 200. So, and that's where I really recommend you have a minimum of 2 screens. So one where you've got your entry chart fully expanded, and one for your anchor chart 1. So that was a nice little nice trade there. And then you can just see the amount of potential trades. Now see the arrows, they plot in real time here. These are, and the sort of white paint bars of a super scalpers. I then have another very cool entry strategy with those arrows. Now I've only got that coded, by the way, for NinjaTrader, but I teach you what it is, so you can apply the same rule to any market, and then we start to change direction. So the point is here, trade with the trend. It's so much easier. I love my divergence trades, as most of you know, but it's a hell of a lot easier trading with the trend. Now let's look at the Russell. Now I just on here, so there are 2 time frames I like with the Russell, either a 2-tick Renko or a 3-tick. So the 3-tick is 1 tick high. So if you're unfamiliar with Renko, each one of these bricks here is 2 ticks, the height of a low. So each step is 1 tick. If I step up, it means each one is 3 ticks. It's just a little bit slower. And quite often with the Russell, and I'm just going to have a quick look there on the 2-tick, let's just see. No, it's quite reasonable at the moment. Okay, it can really take off, and so you need to increase your time frame. By the way, during the New York hours, forget the 2 or 3 tick. You've got to be trading a 4 tick, maybe up to a 6 tick, because a Russell can really pick up, and so can the YM. And here I am talking about the 6 tick NQ. Forget that. During the New York hours, you need generally, if you're going to trade Renko, usually about probably a 12 to a 16 tick. In fact, I've got cheat sheets for all of this, and I refer to these. I just don't remember them all off the top of my head, so hence I've got cheat sheets which make it a lot easier. Now, by the way, just looking at these here, the black dots I call the rule of 1, by the way. So that's the 2 tick. But if we go to the 3 tick just here, this was actually a T10. Now 2 of my key setups, one's called the slingshot. It's been around forever. Okay, so I've got a slingshot here. That's a trend continuation setup, and using the same indicators, we also have I call it a T10, also known as a ka-ching trade or a money on the floor trade, and that is a reversal confirmation. Okay, so here I'm looking at not only what's happening on the entry chart, but I also want to look at what's happening on the anchor chart 1 as well, because remember, we want to be trading in the direction of the higher time frame. So that was a beautiful trade there, and here is another pivot bounce. Here is another pivot bounce. Here is a pivot bounce. Traders, once you understand how to trade pivot bounces, we have a setup, we call it the pivot magnet trade, where you can buy into a pivot and then you can trade the bounce, particularly like if you've got divergence. They become very, very powerful. But what you've got to remember is this, and just saying that, looking at this one here, I've got a high on price, I've got a lower high on my MACD platinum, but it didn't go all that far. Now that's still a nice little move. However, notice here I then get a bounce. So we always need to say to ourselves, do I have blue skies ahead? In other words, what's in front of the trade? Okay, and that's where trading with the trend, usually you get momentum, but reversals are still very powerful, but you've got to look at where may price action bounce. Okay, so that was the another successful trade. Beautiful little trade here. And one other thing I want to say here, as you're learning how to trade, like here I've got trades going off on 3 markets. Forget that. Focus on a maximum of 2 markets. Okay, very important. If trading has not been good to you, or if you're a new trader, forget it. Okay, and as Linda Raschke says, in fact, even in the little slideshow here, and I didn't bring it up, I've got a quote by Linda as she oh no, that's not Linda, this one's by Mark Douglas. Okay, but what Linda Raschke says is some of the best ES traders that she knows focus on one setup on the ES and that's it. They'll just sit back waiting for that. Now what Mark Douglas says in his great book, which should be everybody's trading Bible for disciplined trader, is to become an expert, choose one simple trading system that identifies a pattern. Everything I do here, traders, and I'm showing you is pattern based. I'm looking for patterns. All of these are patterns. I'm bouncing off various EMAs, etc. Okay, and they're rules based. So here I had a T10, nice little trade there. So got the room underway. Then I had I wasn't in on that one. Now in the room we're looking at oil, we're looking at, this is the live trading room, we're looking at multiple markets here. So I took that one. That's just a classic setup. That's was a classic reversal. Now let me just show you this, how this would relate back to trading with an anchor chart. So let me just show you this, and this is where it's so important that you take your time in learning these patterns, because this is a pattern. Here I've got a slightly lower low, I've got some divergence, but look over on my anchor chart 1, lower low, beautiful divergence. Thank you very much. Okay, these are patterns that repeat every single day. Now let me show you now my blunder. Why? Because I want you to learn from it. So as we come down, you know, I really smile at myself where I see other so-called traders never have a losing trade. You know, they only show the best of the best. But traders, we make mistakes. It's so easy, but what can we learn from it? So here I took this trade, and let me just show you what it looked like on the anchor chart. And this is where in some ways I'm even more cross of myself. So what I've got just here, we came down, and selling straight into a pivot is a no-no. Okay, but when you make multiple potential entries, that is, here we bounced once and then I had another potential entry, I thought I'm going to short here, I'll take this. But we want to make sure it qualifies. We want to make sure that the syntax, all of the ingredients are there. Now let me just show you, let's drill down on this. Over here, look over on your anchor chart 1, see that red candle. That red candle formed just here. Great. Okay, good, we've got a red candle. However, I'm hard up against the pivot. So then I come over and I get another potential entry. Note here that I've got two entry signals. Note the arrows and note the white paint bars are saying short, and I then jumped in. Now listen, this is perhaps going to be one of the most valuable lessons you'll ever learn from trading. Look at the anchor chart 1. What's the direction of the candles on the way down? They're red. So what's it tell me about these trades? These are walk in the park shorts. Okay, look at my trigger line here, it's black. Okay, look over here at my midline, it's red, screaming short me, short me. Over here I then had this trade here. And for members watching this, we talk about this every day. I should have had a red candle, and if I want insurance, That is, I wait for my trigger line to hook, which it didn't. Now also, if you look down here, the midline is green, the trigger line is up, and I was sold into a pivot. Now how can you use this? Well, traders, if you're selling right at a pivot, maybe if you have no divergence on your anchor chart, you might pop through, but look for multiple reasons for taking the trade. Okay, so I got stopped on that. Now virtually immediately after that, in fact 4 minutes after that, we had, I call this, it's called a T12. So let me just pause this and let me stop this from here, and let me expand the anchor chart 1. So looking at the anchor chart 1, and this is just a no-brainer setup. How we identify a trend is through a series of lower lows and lower highs. Okay, as a general guide, here I had a lower low, get a pullback, my 200 EMA is in a downtrend, I have a lower high, and we call this a T12. I've got a bounce, and away we went. Thank you very much. And then just after that, I then recovered from that silly little loss here, and then we had this, and I wasn't on this one, by the way, we were talking in the trade room at the stage, but then that's right, and we finished at 6. But here we then had this bounce just up there, and there was some beautiful trades thereafter and a reversal. Now let me show you this one. Why would you short here? Why not go long here? Let's have a look. Now I can't remember this one, but I assume I labeled that because, yep, there it is there. Look over at my anchor chart 1. Look at your trigger line is in a downtrend. Now that turns, see that arrow? That's when it turns. Okay, and see this is my midline on the way down, and also I've got a long-term stochastic on the way down. So now you're looking for shorts. Now learning how to identify reversals is so important. One of the key reasons is that it allows you to jump on larger moves. If you can pick reversals, now yep, and it did reverse there, but then we got into chop just before the main market opened. These moves, by the way, you may look at that and think that's you know, not much of a move. This is a 6-tick Renko, and what that means is each one of these steps here is worth $15. Now if you're trading the big contract here, which you'd need 6,000, I'd recommend, as a really good target, is to be earning 300 a day per contract. That is 30 of these steps. My apologies, it's not 30 of those steps, it's what's that, 20? It's 20 steps, sorry, because it's $15. Let me just explain that. So I probably confused everyone then. So each one of these Renko candles is $30, okay, or 6 ticks. From the high to the low is 6 ticks, okay, but each step, which is 3 ticks, is $15. Now just to give you a guideline here, my target typically is 22 ticks in a trade on here, which is $110. So what we're after really is, and I call them 2Bs, we're after 3 golden 2Bs. When you have a turning point like this is where you can be going for, rather than 22 ticks, which is 7 steps, by the way, you can go for 10 to 15 of these. So to get 22 ticks, you basically need 7 of these little steps plus 1 tick. Okay, 7 of those is basically $105. I add 1 tick to cover the commission. So that there and that there, you've nearly hit your target. Now just down here, I want you to note this here. Look what I'm bouncing off. I've got a divergence trade right there, off where? Off a pivot. And here we're selling into a pivot, and now I've got a divergence trade off a pivot. Now when we buy here, what's in front of me? My major EMAs. Oh, we bounce off them. surprise, surprise. So traders, it's just about taking the time, and this is where I smile to myself, where traders don't want to take the time to learn these little things here that are huge things. You know, there's a saying, it's a ridiculous quote really. What you don't know can't hurt you. Nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to trading. These small tweaks to your trading can make you an absolute fortune. So come and join my classes and let me teach you all of this. So you've got dozens of PowerPoints, and once again, you don't have to learn all of the setups, but there is some work. You got to roll up your sleeves and take the time to learn the patterns. But that's where, by attending my live coaching sessions, okay, and if you can't attend the live sessions, they are recorded, you'll pick all of this up. And after the month one, you can drop me an email if you want to continue with the live sessions, and I'll send you the subscription form. It's only $97 a month. So traders, thank you, and I'll see you in the next session, which will be 117. Thanks, traders.